John is running through a forest that isn't on any map, trying to find a way out before nightfall. His watch has stopped and he keeps returning to the same spot, in addition to seeing several signs that say, "Point of no return," with different numbers. Suddenly, a flock of birds flies over John, and he realizes it's already night. So he tries to climb a tree to hide. Unfortunately, the branch breaks and he falls. Scared, John pulls a knife from his backpack, but a mysterious creature appears and drags him away before he can defend himself. Meanwhile, in the city, American immigrant and artist Mina works at a pet shop. One afternoon, her boss introduces her to a bird that needs to be taken to a zoo in another city and asks her to make the trip. Mina names the bird Darwin before taking it home. She tells Darwin that today is the anniversary of her mother's death, so she's going out tonight to forget. She puts on a wig and goes to a bar with a fake name and job to meet guys. The next morning, she asks Darwin not to judge her, explaining that she likes to dress up because the real her isn't likable. She leaves the city in her car to make the delivery, driving through the countryside and stopping only to refuel. During the trip, she gets a call from her twin sister, but Mina doesn't answer and listens to the voicemail. Her sister scolds her for not going to their mother's memorial and mentions that it's been 15 years, so Mina should stop avoiding the family. Ignoring the message, Mina keeps driving, not noticing the sign with dozens of missing person notices near the forest. Moments later, Mina is crossing the forest and doesn't recognize the area. Her phone and car radio start to fail before the car breaks down, leaving her stranded. She gets out of the vehicle and finds a point of no return sign, which makes her think someone lives nearby. Mina returns to the car to get her bag and Darwin, then starts wandering while calling for help. Nothing happens and Mina decides to go back, but when she turns around, the car has disappeared. Now she has no choice but to keep walking to find a way out. As night falls, a flock of birds suddenly flies over her, and she hears some noises only to spot an old woman running nearby. Desperate, Mina starts running after the woman and sees her enter a building, where the woman tells her to hurry if she wants to live. Mina does exactly that, and discovers two more people inside. The old woman says her name is Madeline, and the others are Kiera and Daniel. They call this building the Coupe, and they also got lost in the forest, so now they hide there. The group leads Mina to a mirrored window, as Madeline explains that the creatures outside are called the Watchers. They come every night to watch them through the window and leave at dawn. Madeline has Mina step forward, and applause is heard from the Watchers, like a welcome to the show. Afterward, Mina sits and stares at the mirrored window while thinking about her mother. In the morning, Mina leaves the coupe, ignoring the others' warnings. As she wanders through the forest, she hears her name being whispered and sees a girl in the distance asking for her, which scares her. Mina starts running and reaches the top of a hill, where she discovers she's in the middle of a huge, seemingly endless forest. When Mina returns, Madeline tells her that everyone tried to get out, but no one ever succeeded. The forest causes hallucinations and can drive a person mad. The signs are markers placed in a circle about a half-day's journey from the coupe and function as a boundary. Crossing the line means never coming back. These signs were built by someone named the Professor. Mina has no choice but to return with the others to the coupe. At night, Daniel makes a speech to announce Mina's return to the show, and Kiara plays music for the Watchers to dance to. They've found some DVDs of a reality show, so Mina tries to distract herself with that, noticing the professor's name on the back of the case. The next morning, the group goes out to find food, and Kiara teaches Mina to recognize medicinal plants. Kiara explains that Daniel frequently has headaches, and that, according to John, he liked Kiara. John is Kiara's husband, and he left 6 days ago, but they haven't heard from him since. Kiara also shares Madeline's theory that seeing a Watcher can drive a person mad. She then shows Mina a burrow, explaining there are many of them throughout the forest. They are connected by a system of underground tunnels, and that's where the watchers go during the day. To Mina's surprise, Ciara admits that she and John arrived here about 5 months ago, though she has lost count and isn't sure. Later, during lunch, Madeline teaches Mina the rules for survival. Never turn your back on the mirror. Never open the door after dark. Never go near the burrows, and always stay in the light. The three of them recite the rules together in a slightly terrifying manner. As the days go by, Mina tries to keep busy by watching the reality show and drawing in her notebook. At night, she looks at the mirror and hears some noises outside but is skeptical. One night, she goes to bed too early, and the creatures begin to roar and scream outside. Madeline then forces her to face the mirror until they calm down. Sometime later, Daniel goes to check his animal traps, mentioning he used to hunt with John. Mina accompanies him and keeps seeing that little girl in the forest. Daniel explains that Madeline used to be a university professor, so she thinks she knows everything. She has been here for 8 months, and Mina finds it strange that she has never seen a watcher. Both Daniel and Mina admit they are skeptical of Madeline's story, and Mina proposes entering a burrow, ignoring Daniel's scared protests. Using a rope held by Daniel, Mina descends into the burrow and looks around with a lighter. She finds tons of abandoned objects, including a newspaper from 1992, a camcorder, and a stuffed rabbit. There's also a bicycle, which Mina sends up to Daniel on the rope. At that moment, she hears a strange noise in the darkness and calls for Daniel, but he doesn't answer. Suddenly, a hand with 6 fingers slowly appears from the darkness, speaking a strange language, and Mina screams again, this time finally grabbing the rope back. Moments later, Mina shows Ciara and Madeline all the things they took from the burrow, saying they found them under a large rock. Mina believes the bicycle can help them escape, but Madeline disagrees and realizes Mina saw something. She keeps asking about it, but Mina denies it. Meanwhile, Daniel connects the camera to the coupe's power source, explaining that the professor must have installed it when he built the place. By also connecting the TV, they now have a basic surveillance system. That night, the group waits at the table for something to appear on the screen. Suddenly, Ciara hears a noise and sees legs on the camera as someone knocks on the door. The person speaks, and Ciara gets excited hearing John, who begs to be let in. Madeline immediately forbids it, reminding Ciara that the watchers can play tricks to lure them out. As John continues to plead, saying he's injured, an argument breaks out, during which Madeline forces Mina and Daniel to admit they messed with a burrow. Ciara still wants to save her husband, so Madeline has her ask something only he would know. Unfortunately, John can't remember what book Madeline is reading, even though they bought it together because he remembered it. Still in denial, Ciara asks John to show his face to the camera. At that moment, John appears on the screen and asks for help before being dragged away. Then something hits the camera, breaking it. The group rushes to stand in front of the mirror as the furious watcher outside repeatedly pounds on it until it cracks. The next morning, Madeline throws the bicycle back into the burrow, hoping to appease the watchers. Mina promises she's done breaking the rules. In the burrow, the bicycle is dragged into the darkness. A flashback shows how a young Mina was in a car ride with her sister and mother, revealing that the girl in the forest looks like the twins back then. Mina kept breaking the rules, which triggered an argument with her mother, who slammed the window shut, trapping Mina's fingers. Her scream distracted her mother, which caused the car accident. In the present, Mina continues to draw the symbols and comments that the forest is playing with her mind, before marking the trees she has already checked. The weeks go by, making the days colder and shorter. Everyone has lost hope of escaping and is starting to go crazy. Mina hears Madeline yelling at Daniel, scolding him because he hasn't caught anything in a while, and they might soon starve. In the coupe, Ciara ignores all the fighting, watching the reality show, and Mina continues to doodle on the floor. Suddenly, she turns around and realizes Ciara has disappeared. Mina runs into the forest and finds Kira standing at the edge of a burrow, considering jumping in to be with John again. At that moment, they hear a scream and follow the noise to find Daniel tying up Madeline. She says Daniel has lost his mind, but Daniel simply announces that they are going to play by their own rules now, before running back to the coupe. Sierra runs after him, but Mina stays behind to free Madeline. Afterward, the pair runs back to the coupe only to find that Daniel and Tierra have locked the door. The birds begin to fly around them, so they have no choice but to run and hide inside one of the traps, which has a rotting smell that might mask their scent. While Kira and Daniel stand in front of the mirror, a watcher finally appears over the trap, but fails to detect the women and runs towards the coupe. It rises to its full height and roars, summoning more imposing watchers. When they get too close to the coupe, Daniel says that 2 people are missing, so the watchers go out to hunt the missing women. With the area around the coupe clear, Mina and Madeline run to the door and plead for mercy. Mina begins to tell the story of how she caused her mother's death and how she can't live with that guilt, telling Daniel he will be haunted by the same mistake. Finally, the door opens and the 2 run inside before locking it again. Madeline immediately scolds Daniel and says she should have killed him months ago, but now it's more important to deal with the watchers. The group stands in front of the mirror, and Madeline explains that she used to teach folklore and mythology. She came to the forest to investigate, and on the first night, she saw a watcher that looked like a deformed version of herself. The watchers are in many classic stories and are also known as changelings or fairies. They want to observe humans to study them and eventually become them. Suddenly, a watcher starts pounding on the door, imitating Kiara's voice to ask for help. Soon, more watchers begin to climb onto the coupe, imitating the humans' voices to try to lure them outside. After the group pushes a table in front of the door, they hear a strange noise and notice a square on the floor under the rug. As the watchers become more aggressive outside, Daniel smashes the square until it opens, and they discover a bunker. The group descends immediately, with Darwin closing the hatch just before the watchers finally invade the coupe. When they turn on the lights, they find the place where the professor used to work. It's full of files, books, and food that will keep them alive for a long time. There's also a very old computer with no internet access, but Mina finds a series of video diary entries that began in 2009. Professor Rory explains how fascinated he is by the creatures watching him through the window. Each video shows how he is slowly losing his sanity and eventually admits that the people he hired to build the coupe were killed by the watchers every day. In another video, he mentions that a watcher appeared to him in the form of a little girl and wonders if humans could use that power. The next recording reveals that he managed to capture a watcher and tried to befriend it, but the creature became enraged. The last video was recorded on day 300, and Rory admitted defeat. He planned to kill the watcher and then give up, but first he left a message in case someone found him. He left a boat on the river past marker 134, which can be found by following the birds. Rory also asked the viewer to go to his office at the university and destroy all his things. Mina cries upon hearing the gunshots in the recording. The group agrees they will leave in the boat in the morning, and Kiara plays a song to celebrate. She tries to get Daniel to dance with her, but Daniel feels depressed. He explains that he got lost in the forest after running away from his abusive father. Ciara promises him that he can stay with her when they finally escape, and they hug. The next morning, the group follows Mina's markings to find marker 134. There, they release Darwin and begin to follow him through the forest. Finally, at a stone marker, Madeline explains that it's where the fairies were imprisoned after losing the war against humans. Since then, they have been trying to return, but have lost their wings and their magic, so now they can't stand the sun. As the group keeps running, Mina continues to see the little girl nearby. Soon it starts to rain, and the birds fly around them, announcing the arrival of night. The group can hear the Watchers approaching, so they speed up until they reach the river. The women manage to get into the boat, but Daniel hears John's voice and freezes. Seconds later, Daniel appears, dragging John towards the shore. Ciara tries to warn him that it's not real, but it's too late. The fake John changes shape and kills Daniel with its claws. Then, the fake John's body deforms as more Watchers surround it to observe the trio rowing away. Madeline tells the others not to worry, as the Watchers can't leave the forest. In the morning, the women and Darwin finally find a bridge and climb onto it, waiting until a bus passes by. Fortunately, the driver lets them on, and they can relax as they return to the city. Later, while Mina takes a bath, she keeps remembering her mother's death. She was lying in the middle of the road, and her sister kept calling her name while revealing scars on her face. The next day, Mina goes to the university to fulfill Rory's last wish, pretending to be his niece. She discovers the coupe project, the first draft of a research paper on the Watchers, and a recorder with some of Rory's research. This research follows an illustrated scroll that shows that before the war, fairies lived peacefully with humans as friends, and sometimes even as partners. These partners had half-breed children who could walk in the sun, and Rory thought they might still be hidden in society as humans. Mina looks at a huge piece of art and finds some photographs that leave her in shock. That night, Mina visits Ciara and shows her the photos she found, revealing that Madeline had been Rory's wife. However, she died in 2001 from lung cancer. Mina theorizes that Rory tried to use the Watcher he captured to bring his wife back, and that Watcher became the Madeline they knew. At that moment, a car arrives and the real Ciara appears, which means the Watcher Madeline was pretending to be Ciara for Mina all along. The real Ciara enters the house, and the Watcher crawls across the ceiling before transforming into John, using its voice to distract Ciara and knock her unconscious. Mina tries to escape, but the Watcher catches her and starts throwing her around, while complaining about humans and taking the form of Daniel. A mirror breaks as Mina falls, and she grabs a piece to defend herself, but the Watcher simply drags her, while thanking her for helping it escape the forest. Then, the Watcher goes outside, taking Madeline's form and explaining that it always wanted to leave the forest because the other Watchers mocked it for being able to walk in the sun. They called it a day walker and a deformity, so it went to Rory hoping he would help it escape. However, when Rory tried to shoot it, the Watcher killed him first. In just a few seconds, the Watcher transforms into Rory and then into Mina, grabbing the real Mina by the neck to kill her and take her body. Mina confesses that Rory had a secret, and the Watcher lets her go to let her speak, learning about the half-breeds and how there are still more of them hidden among humans. The Watcher realizes that while living as Madeline, it was able to feel human emotions thanks to its mixed blood, and suddenly its body transforms, revealing wings. It flies up to perch on the roof and tells Mina that it hopes she's right about more of its kind existing before flying away. Then Mina checks that Ciara is okay. Fortunately, sometime later, Mina finally visits her sister and her nephews to reconcile. She also shares her experience in the forest, explaining that sometimes she feels that the Watcher Madeline is hidden among the crowds, watching her. The Watcher takes different forms, but the most common one is the little girl Rory saw in the window. Darwin watches the streets, and the Watcher watches him back.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.